Brothers and sisters, peace be with you. Today we're reading from Ecclesiastes chapter 5. Chapter 5 and 6 of the book of Ecclesiastes, or a part of chapter 6 and chapter 5, is the conclusion of chapter 1 to 4. So chapter 5 and 6 are a conclusion to chapter 4 to 5. And chapter 1 to 4 are reflections of the preacher, his observation of the world. He noticed that under the sun, all our labor are in vain. Under the sun, nothing is reliable. Everything is unstable, untrustworthy. It doesn't mean that 1 and then 2 and then 3. No, it's not in order. Many things are unreliable, unpredictable. As I read the book of Ecclesiastes these times, I decided to put the time of writing of this book during the reign of Persian. That's my view this time. It's written at a later time. That's why the author, speaking to his audience, the people of Judah, they are under the rule of Persian. They got nothing in hand, nothing they can control, they can depend on. They have to pay heavy tax. They had to. They can do business, they could, but they need to pay high tax too. They were under persecution politically. They were far from the king in reign. But they were still under the influence of the king. There was a great gap between the rich and the poor. The rich will be so rich, but the poor can be so poor. The whole society favored the rich. But for the general common people, the days were hard. At the later time of Persian emperor, they faced the rising of the Greek. So they have to get more higher and impose higher and higher tax. The whole nation was unstable, and then the war was kind of like going through, but they kept defeated. They were defeated. The whole society was unrest. And the royal family, the government, oppressed the people more and more. Because their power was growing weaker and weaker. And the people of Judah, that's the whole background of the book of Ecclesiastes. What should they do? We are in today's society, what we face today. Our current situation is more or less like what I just described, the time of the book of Ecclesiastes. In the current world, just like the author under the rule of the Persian, and then he was the defeat. The people of Judah, they were defeat. What should their life direction be like? They spend their day on earth. What should they do? making money? Do they definitely can make money? Even if they do make money, if they did make money, can they save their money? And it's such a hard work to earn money. That's why chapter 1 to 4 talk about that nothing guarantee. Everything is in vain. Everything is in vain. Labor, toil, at the end is all vain. There's nothing new under the sun. Nothing we can rely on, depend on. From the first 4 chapters, he observed that everything is in the hand of God, especially in chapter 3. Everything is in the hand of God. Chapter 3, verse 11, he has made everything beautiful in his time. Verse 11 of chapter 3. He has made everything beautiful in his time. In his time. Also, he put eternity in their hearts, the hearts of men, except that no one can find out the work that God does from beginning to end. We do not understand the world, what's going on. The world is beyond our comprehension, our fathom. There's a poem I wrote. We are unable to find out the work of God. The people of Judah, under the rule of Persia, they did not know what's going to happen. They have nothing guaranteed. I know that nothing is better for them than to rejoice and to do good in their lives. Verse 12 of chapter 3. And also that every man should eat and drink and enjoy the good of all his labor. It is the gift of God. I know that whatever God does, it shall be forever. Nothing can be added to it and nothing taken from it. Verse 14 of chapter 3. God does it that men should fear before him. These few verses in the chapter 3, that's the conclusion of his observation from chapter 1 to chapter 3 up till now. Man living on earth, God is in heaven. There is nothing new under the sun. Everything is in vain. That's why we, under the sun, what can we do? We should fear before God. Because God put eternity in the hearts of man. Yes, a lot of things we do not understand, we cannot comprehend, we have no guarantee. What is the best for us is to just to rejoice and to do good in our lives. The best is that all our lives we rejoice and we do good. Because you are not to offend God who is in heaven. And in this chapter 5, he will continue on this topic. Even though we fear God, we still need to labor under the sun. It doesn't mean that we do nothing. We continue to work in the society. But everything is given by God. We must fear God. However much God has given you, you enjoy. Now, it continues on this conclusion in chapter 5. Chapter 4. Under the sun on earth, everything is kind of like in relation to one another. This king rise and fall, and many things is in relations. The poor, it's like a contrast, right? The poor, the rich, the wise, the foolish, the young, the old, the lonely one, or people gathered together. Some may do things by themselves. They do not do in groups. But some do things in groups, maybe 2 or 3 people. And then the threefold cord is not quickly broken. Many things is in comparison, in relations. Under the sun on earth, there is no absolute. There is nothing absolute. Nothing is absolutely good. So what is absolutely good? The best. Then chapter 5 will tell us what is the best. I must finish on time today. The title I give to chapter 5 is the best direction of life under the sun. Open quotation. Receive what God has given us. Receive the portion from God. The preacher, at this point, under the sun, yes, we live under the sun, for sure. Yes, the people of Judah live under the rule of Persian. But in heaven, even though the Judah was destroyed, God was watching over them in heaven. We cannot control everything on earth, going on earth. But everything is in the hand of God. God still watches over us, watches over them. God has given a part to everyone. So it's a good observation and a good conclusion. During that time, the people of Judah, they were in darkness. What they have to receive, what is the best for them? Connect with God. Receive the portion from God. And it's not that on earth, they try to get this, they try to grab this, they try to seize that one. That's the conclusion of this chapter. That's why I give the title as this. I will divide this chapter into 2 paragraphs. Verse 1 to 7, the first paragraph. And then 8 to 20. 8 to 20 is the second paragraph. First paragraph. Man living on earth, the title for this paragraph. We are to fear God who is in heaven. The best thing a man can do under the sun is to fear God who is in heaven. In our current society, we are living in our own situation. We face the COVID-19 these days. Rumor of war. Financial difficulties. And for Hong Kong, right now, our current situation is financially, we have our consideration. To the Hong Kong people, we really need a house under our name. Many of our co-workers, you have grown-up children. And for other people, if you have a daughter waiting to get married, then you will ask the son-in-law, future son-in-law, do you have a property under your name? For those who are non-believers, I'm referring to these people. Okay, my daughter can marry you. How much wedding money would you give me? Do you have a property of your own? Best to give my daughter a property, a house, a flat. I don't have to live in the flat, but it's for my daughter to live in it. That's the main thing to the non-believer Hong Kong people. Many people think like that in the real world. But I'm thankful that when I married Simo, I didn't have to have a house under my name. Otherwise, I would not have been able to have this good wife. My father-in-law, we did not have like propose like this, sweet proposal. We did not do anything like that in the past. My mom passed away already when I was fairly young, and I didn't have a good relations with my dad, as you know from my from the drama. So I was talking to my girlfriend then, my then girlfriend Simo. We want to get married. So I told Simo's father, my father-in-law, we want to get married. My father-in-law to be, he didn't say, "Oh yeah, I need this much money from you," and that. He said 3 words. Besides calling my name Joshua, he spoke in this Shanghainese. You are in a trap. You are trapped. That's what he said to me. You are trapped. That's my father-in-law. The way is like, okay, you are falling into something not good, something dodgy. That's what the Chinese words means. It's for laugh. But in love, even though I'm like, maybe something dodgy is still good. But right now, my Simo is my best help. And I thank God. I do appreciate the heart of my father-in-law and mother-in-law. I encourage our co-workers, when you want to marry your daughter, do not be greedy. You need a good son-in-law. You should learn from my father-in-law. But don't say that 3 words, maybe. Verse 1 to 7 is the first paragraph. Man living under the sun is to fear God who is in heaven. 3 little points here in this paragraph. Verse 1. Walk prudently when you go to the house of God and draw near to hear rather than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they do not know that they do evil. Verse 1. Walk prudently and hear God. We live on earth. God is living in heaven. We live under the sun. We cannot control God. We cannot control anything, let alone God. That's why when we come to the house of God, when we come before God, we need to walk prudently. We need to draw near and hear. Then to give the sacrifice of fools. We'll talk about the sacrifice of fool in a bit. The fools that do not know that they do evil. Because they are foolish, they do not know what is good, what is evil. So they sacrifice to God, they want something from God. Under that situation, God is telling them and God is telling us that we need to be prudent when we walk, when we go into the house of God. We need to hear God. Do not be rash. Do not be rash with your mouth. Verse 2. Do not be rash with your mouth, and let not your heart utter anything hastily before God. For God is in heaven and you on earth, and therefore let your words be few. Verse 3, for a dream comes through much activity, and a fool's voice is known by his many words. A fool doesn't know what is bad, what is evil. That's why they come before God. When they come before God, they are rash with their mouth. They don't know what they utter. So their heart will utter anything hastily before God. But you be careful, because God is in heaven. You are on earth. Maybe you speak something that is sin. You utter much on many things. For a dream comes through much activity. You want to pursue many different things. And then you talk with many words. You think that, okay, if I talk much, God will give me. For a dream comes through much activity, and a fool's voice is known by his many words. The more you talk, the more foolish you are, because you don't know what you are talking about. You don't know what is good, you don't know what is evil. The more you talk, the more mistakes you make. That's why before God, do not be rash with your mouth. Do not be rash with your mouth, but you do speak with your mouth. And when you make a vow to God, do not delay to pay it. Verse 4 to 6. When you make a vow to God, do not delay to pay it, for he has no pleasure in fools. Pay what you have vowed. Better not to vow than to vow and not pay. Do not let your mouth cause your flesh to sin, nor say before the messenger of God that it was an error. Why should God be angry in your at your excuse and destroy the work of your hands? Verse 4 to 6. Oh, he doesn't know what to say, and he say a lot, and he said the wrong thing. And he said the wrong thing, and he said, oh, no, I take back my word. You make a vow. Oh, no, God, I got it wrong. It doesn't count. And I come to the messenger of God. I'm sorry, I make the wrong vow. In the past, I say that if you make this happen, I will offer like a house to you, a flat to you. Or help me this time. If you do this for me, then I will always give you 20% of what I do in the future. But when you earn a lot, you don't want to give that much money to God, 20%. Oh, no, I was too rushed. Oh, please, I'm so sorry. I said I got it wrong. And you do not pay your vow. Then your mouth causes your flesh to sin. Verse 6. Do not let your mouth cause your flesh to sin. That means it also means increase your sin. If you do that, God will be angry at you in heaven. If you if you anger God, he will destroy the work of your hands. We cannot control God. Moreover, we cannot control anything on earth. But as you are rash with your mouth, you offended God. You cause you added sin to your flesh. God will destroy the work of your hands. You must know that God controls everything. God will influence everything, and God will influence you. Before God, you must fear him. Verse 7. For in the multitude of dreams and many words, there is also vanity, but fear God. In the multitude of dreams and many words, there is also vanity. So it's vanity here. It corresponds to verse 3. For a dream comes through much activity, and a fool's voice is known by his many words. If you have many things, you cannot sleep. You have a lot of dreams, you cannot sleep, you are worried. When you have many words, it shows you're fool. You are a fool, and you will be punished by God. We cannot control that. Don't think that in the multitude of dreams and words you will receive a lot. When you have much activity, when you speak much words, you ask a lot. Does it mean that you will receive? Not necessarily. But when you cannot sleep, it will cause you to lose your sleep, and it cause you to be more foolish, and you will face God's judgment. All these are vanities. Vanity means you don't get what you want. And also, in a deeper sense, you cannot control what happens. It's a waste. It's fertile. It's futile. It's pointless. It's useless of you doing this. You do a lot. You have a lot of activity. You speak a lot. You keep praying and praying. No. But that could be the opposite. Then why bother? Everything is vanity. That's why you need to walk prudently before God. You need to do not be rushed with your mouth. Do not make vow hastily. Fear God only. Fear God who is in heaven. To the people of the Judah, the preachers say that God is here. God is in our midst. God, it controls everything. So we must be prudent. We must be cautious. We need to fear God. Verse 8 to 20, I divide it into 3 subparagraphs. Verse 8 to 12, it's no point to be greedy. It's not good to be greedy. If you see the oppression of the poor and the violent perversion of the justice and righteousness in the prophets, do not marvel at the matter. For high official watches over high officials, and higher officials are over them. Moreover, the profit of the land is for all. Even the king is served from the field. The poor is being oppressed, just like today's society. The poor is less protected in current world. If anything goes wrong, they were the first who suffers. Just like the COVID-19 is affecting Hong Kong, right? Who struggles most in Hong Kong? It's the poor. If they don't work, they have nothing to eat. That's really sad. If you got infected, you are severely ill, then it's also bad. The poor is oppressed. Verse 10, if you're greedy for money, you will never be satisfied. So you're poor, you're oppressed, then you crave for money, you want to be you want to be rich. The poor is oppressed, but the rich is not satisfied. He who loves silver will not be satisfied with silver, nor he who loves abundance with increase. This also is vanity. How come even if we have much silver, it's still vanity? So is it good to be poor or is it good to be a rich person? Verse 11 to 12 tells us, when goods increase, they increase who eats them. So what profit have the owner except to see them with their eyes? The sleep of a laboring man is sweet, whether he eats little or much, but the abundance of the rich will not permit him to sleep. Your goods increase, but you spend more because those who eat will be more. If you are doing business, that's really sad. Especially facing COVID, you face great challenge. You lose your income because many people will eat, but then you have no income. Then it will be really bad. What is the good? Except to see them with their eyes. You have a lot of money, your saving is a lot in the bank. It's only for your eyes. You can look at it. The sleep of a laboring man is sweet, whether he eats little or much. You have much money, you only see them with your eyes. But if you have no money, you labor, you sleep well, but the abundance of the rich will not permit him to sleep. So do you want to sleep or do you want to lose sleep? The poor, the laboring man sleep well. So the rich, you have lots of money. Is it good? It's up to you. And then verse 13 to 17. Receive nothing, but only troubles. If we greedy for money, you don't think that you will receive anything on earth. Your wealth will be vanity at the end. But then you need to pay the price of have a lot of worries and cares. 13 to 17. There is a severe evil which I have seen under the sun, which is kept for their owner to his hurt. Even though they have offspring, have a son, there is nothing in his hand. Verse 14. As he came from his mother's womb, naked shall he return. He can bring nothing with him. This is a severe evil because they labor all their life, but then they receive nothing. That's the conclusion, 18:19. And then verse 20, conclusion. All the goodness is from God. It is good and fitting for one to eat and drink to enjoy the good of all his labor from God, which God gives. Good and fitting. Verse 18. Here's what I have seen. It is good and fitting. The best, the most beautiful, for one to eat and drink and to enjoy the good of all his labor in which he toils under the sun all the days of his life which God gives him, for it is his heritage. Verse 18. God is above the sun. We are under the sun. God has his heritage to us. So we need to be content with this heritage. Then we'll receive this. If God gives me like $100,000, I just enjoy the $100,000 from God. And don't think that, I want to earn like $100 million in my life. But then, if you're just happy with the 100,000 in your bank account, you always have 100,000 in your bank account. God knows. Do not be discontent. Be content with what God has given you. You enjoy, you eat and drink and enjoy the days, all the days of the life God gives you. This is the blessing from God to you, for it is His heritage. As for every man to whom God has given his riches and wealth and given him power to eat of it, to receive his heritage and rejoice in his labor. This is the gifts of God. This is the blessing of God from to us. It's a gift of God. For he will not dwell unduly on the days of his life, because God keeps him busy with the joy of his heart. Verse 20. I will translate it. He will not dwell unduly on the days of his life, because his life passed quickly. He enjoys everything. He is happy. He enjoys everything God gives him. Just like in 6 moments today, our day passed so quickly. 20 years in the blink of eyes, gone. It's so quick. It's beyond our understanding. Everything every day we rejoice. Why are we so happy? I don't demand myself to do something great. I just do what God wants me to do. I just receive what God will give me. Because God keeps him busy with the joy of his heart. Basically, it means that God sends joy to his heart. That's what the translation. Keeps him busy with the joy of his heart. God sends joy to his heart. This is the gift of God. Bless you. May God send joy to your heart all the days of your life. Then we are content with the blessing from God. We take it as the good and fitting. Amen. Bless you. That's the end of the message today.